What's good, boxing fans? It's your boy Matt with Nabs Boxing. Today we're going to be talking about whether or not Manny Pacquiao, the GOAT, legend, 8-division world champion, does he deserve this title shot that he's getting? We all know that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. We know he's a legend in the sport. You know, he's probably one of the most famous fighters of all time, and his name has gone down in the history books and will forever in the sport of boxing. But does he deserve a 147-pound title? You know, that's the question. And I will say, I don't think he deserves it if we're looking at on paper, you know, the traditional rules, the guys, you know, the number one, number two contender in the sport of boxing, title eliminators, you know, all that stuff has kind of gone out the window. So when you have a guy like Manny Pacquiao, I can't help but think, like, of course they're going to allow it because, you know, sanctioning bodies, they're going to want to make money. The WBC could easily make a lot of money off of this fight because it's Pacquiao at the end of the day. You know, and for Pacquiao, he's picked an opponent at 147 that he can definitely beat. You know, you look at all of these opponents, you look at the top names at 147, right? You look at Boots, let's stay away from that one. Stan Jonas, let's stay away from that one. Brian Norman, still don't like that one. They like Mario Barrios, though, because they see something that they can take advantage of. You know, that's clearly why they're taking that fight. That's why Pacquiao's team is taking this fight, and Pacquiao's taking the fight because he believes he can win. And I think he can do it. You know, it's definitely, I think Pacquiao's going to be the underdog for sure, just because of the age, man. If we're talking 10 to 20 years ago, Pacquiao smokes Barrios. He's going to cook him, put him to sleep, beat the crap out of him. But now it's just like, Pacquiao's old. He's 46. What do you want from the guy? You know, he's only going to have whatever's left in the tank at the end of the day. And that's the question that remains to be answered, is how much does Pacquiao have left in the tank? Because that's what the depending factor is. That's what the fight depends on, if he can move. Can he really move? You know, we're all seeing this footage of him and he's looking great, and I watch it and I'm always like, yeah, that's Pacquiao for sure. You know, his training footage, the workouts he does, they're second to none. But at the end of the day, being old, you know, does play a factor. And the last time we saw Pacquiao against Ugas, he cramped up, and that was, what, 4 years ago, close to that, and now we're supposed to expect that he's going to look better? I mean, he could turn back the clock. If anybody can do it, it's Pacquiao, but it doesn't look likely because, like, how can he get better from 4 years ago when he already looked a lot slower? The timing was off, the rhythm was off, he wasn't able to really get to Ugas the way he wanted to because his legs were giving out. And it's like, I know he's focusing on, you know, not cramping for this fight. He's been doing a lot of exercises, certain training methods to avoid cramping like he did against Ugas, but Pacquiao has to, you know, realize, like, he can't afford to really take too much damage against a young fighter because this guy's gonna have good stamina. The thing is that Pacquiao, out of all the, you know, fighters in the world, you know, Pacquiao would be able to pull this off. It wouldn't surprise me crazy, but, like, you can't help but wonder and worry about a guy like Pacquiao. Any boxing fan wants Pacquiao to find a way to pull it off, but they all feel that common feeling that's like, this is gonna suck if he gets stopped, if he gets punished, or takes any punishment in general, gets dropped or gets knocked out, you know, because these are all possibilities in the sport of boxing, especially now that you've got an older guy, you know, pushing 50, and you want him to beat a 147-pound champion that's still very youthful. Pacquiao could be Barrios' dad, you know, at the end of the day. Like what I said, you put the names next to each other, it's easy to pick Pacquiao if this is 10 to 20 years ago, but now that Pacquiao's older, anything's in play. And it's unfortunate because, like, people are all saying, like, Pacquiao's doing it for the money, you know. That's a silly thing to say because, like, why would you fight Barrios if you're trying to make some money? You don't fight Barrios if you're Pacquiao. Pacquiao can make so much money in a commercial, doing a movie in the Philippines. You know, he's a politician. He'll be fine. You know, you don't got to worry about Pacquiao's pockets. But fighting Mario Barrios doesn't really do anything for his career. I think this is more about Pacquiao challenging himself and wanting to genuinely see, like, what's left in the tank. I don't even know if he's doing it for the fans. I think he's genuinely trying to find out for his own peace of mind, like, can I still compete with one of these young guys if I wanted to? And, you know, if anyone's going to do it, like I keep saying, it's Pacquiao. At the age of 46, it's not any other average boxer. It's one of the guys that's considered best of all time, you know, one of the GOATs in the sport of boxing. So for Pacquiao, I feel like we don't know, you know, if he has a little spurt of energy that can catch Barrios off guard, and Barrios gets a little bit nervous because he feels that aura of Pacquiao, you know, like a lot of Pacquiao opponents have. You know, Keith Thurman felt it, Tim Bradley felt it, a lot of guys have felt the aura of Pacquiao, and that their performance has been, you know, negatively affected because of it. They get nervous when they're fighting a legend. So if that comes into play and Pacquiao has the night of his life, I feel like there's a chance he could do it. But it's definitely something where you got to worry if you're a Pacquiao fan, because he is 46 and he is aging and he hasn't looked good recently. But like I said, if anybody can do it, it's Manny Pacquiao, the 8 Division World Champ. But thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. But I'll catch you guys on the next Nabs Boxing video. Peace.